When we are treated unjustly, when we are falsely accused, mistreated in any way, we deserve justice. Can we get it? And when we can't, do we extend mercy, forgiveness? Well, forgiveness is a complex topic. I think of it as letting go of bitterness, something you do privately. But somebody once called forgiveness the F word. I'm sure you understand why. And I think forgiveness involves three questions that have to be answered. The first is, why don't I just focus on justice? They're the ones who did the wrong. And then what about, I don't feel like forgiving? That's not going to work. And then what if I forgive and they keep hurting me? Then I'm just enabling them. Do I have to maintain that relationship? Well, these are important questions. So I want to talk to you about a few real-life situations where people had to make that choice, forgiveness or justice. And then we'll come back to these questions at the end. The first one is about the singer Mandisa, who sings, among other songs, I'm an Overcomer. She got her start on American Idol, and she's not the slimmest woman, so as she entered the stage, Simon Cowell was heard to say, well, I think we need a bigger stage. Wow. Can you imagine that? And then when she started singing, Paula Abdul said, well, it's kind of a Frenchy, growly kind of voice. Simon added, no, more like France itself. She was devastated. Her big moment had become a nightmare on national TV. Well, she did make it back for the next round, and she spoke to Simon directly and said, you know, a lot of people have told me what to say to you. I was really hurt, and I cried, so she didn't deny the pain. But I realized I don't need you to apologize to forgive you. I realized that if Jesus could forgive me for all I've done that's wrong, I can extend that same grace to you. He was speechless. And eventually he did actually apologize. Sometimes, however, the attack can go beyond words. As a young woman, the poet Maya Angelou was savagely beaten and raped. It was horrific. But she got justice. She testified against the man. However, she still had this overwhelming heaviness, and she hardly could speak to anyone. She withdrew from society. Then she heard somebody quote the phrase, bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. A powerful thought. And as she meditated on it, she realized, I have to forgive to be free. So she quietly, on her own, forgave that man. She felt this heaviness lift, and gradually she was able to move forward and live her life again. How about on a national scale, involving racism? This is the story in the 1940s of Corrie ten Boom, her sister Betsy, and her father. They hid Jews from the Nazis, but eventually the Nazis found them and put them in a concentration camp. It was terrible. There were fleas everywhere, very unhappy. And then after 2 weeks, her father died. She was so angry. Her sister Betsy said, Corrie, I know this is painful. I don't deny that, but we have to forgive to be free. We cannot go under bitterness. Corrie was so upset. But eventually she said, yes, Betsy, this is what we must do. So that helped. She felt better. Then her sister Betsy died. So how could she go on? Both members of her family were gone. Eventually she remembered what her sister Betsy said, and she said to herself, I still have to forgive. So she did, even though she hated the pain. Well, eventually she got out of the prison camp. She was free. She was able to go around, and she spoke to a lot of people. She spoke everywhere, talking about the power of forgiveness and how it sets you free. After speaking once, a man approached her. She was horrified. She recognized him. This was a guard at the prison camp that oversaw her father's death and her sister's death. She just wanted him to go away. He approached her and she didn't know what to say. Well, he spoke first. He said, "Miss Ten Boom, I am a changed man. I am so sorry for what I have done. But the only thing is, I need to know, can you forgive me?" She just didn't know what to do. She wanted to go away. Eventually, she had the thought, well, I can raise my hand. As she raised her hand, he took it and clutched it, and as she felt a healing warmth flow through her entire body, she found herself saying, "I forgive you, brother, with all my heart." So she found the action of forgiveness led to the feeling of forgiveness. Finally, there's the story of Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison unjustly for opposing apartheid, the racist regime that squeezed 80% of the population, the black people, into 10% of the land. Eventually he was freed, and he had a choice to make. He realized if he did not forgive, his country would go up in flames. So he made a valiant choice. He said, we must forgive the white man. What happened? He actually instituted a just new society through forgiveness. I saw him on Oprah later, and he said he hated the white man in his heart. But she asked him, "Do you still have anger?" And he said, "No, no anger." So it actually changed. So what do we learn from these examples? First of all, shouldn't I just seek justice? Well, in the case of Nelson Mandela, he did seek justice, but he did it through forgiveness. He built a just new society. What about if I don't feel like forgiving? Well, we saw in the action of Corrie Ten Boom that she didn't feel like forgiving either, but she forgave, and the action led to the feeling of forgiveness. And then the last question is, shouldn't I just get away from this person? They keep hurting me. Do I have to maintain that relationship? Well, forgiveness and reconciliation are really two separate decisions. But I find that if you forgive first, that leads to a better feeling, and you're able to make the choice whether you maintain the relationship or not. So these are pretty heavy situations, and each situation is different. How do we make this practical? Well, I actually have an exercise I'd like to try with you. So if you're interested, I invite you to find my next video on practical steps to healing when we face injustice. Thank you.